What's up everyone, Darcblade here with a Hunter's Guide to Frostfang Barioth in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. The new Flying Wyvern variant has been added to the game, and this Flying Wyvern variant bears many similarities to the standard Barioth. However, it comes with thicker fur, sharper, darker fangs, and looks like it's weathered a lot more harsher environments than its standard cousin. This, combined with more aggressive moves and amplified ice attacks, can give hunters a different experience, which can catch them off guard if they haven't experienced Frostfang before. Now, Frostfang Barioth is only accessed through one method at the moment. You can only access the monster through the event quest, The Last White Knight. This requires hunters to be master rank 24 or higher, and the only main objective is to hunt a Frostfang Barioth. But this monster is classed as a tempered monster. In fact, you can only get it in tempered form. But for completing this quest, you'll obviously get Frostfang materials and rewards to craft the various armor and weaponry in the game. But when it comes to taking on Frostfang Barioth, there is one aspect that you have to consider, which is sometimes called Frostbind. This effect is linked to the majority of Frostfang Barioth's icy breath attacks, although Velkhana can also make use of attacks that have this Frostbind effect. When it spews ice onto the floor or ground, if a hunter makes contact with the ice on the floor, their feet will freeze to the ground. Yes, they can still move, but their movement is severely reduced. Normally, Barioth will often freeze a hunter to the ground, trapping them and then enabling the Flying Wyvern to perform its harder hitting moves. This can be tricky to avoid, so staying on the move is advisable, as not even shields, boosters or mantles can prevent you from getting your feet stuck with Frostbind, leaving you open. But what other moves does Frostfang Barioth have? Well, if you fought the standard Barioth, you would be familiar with the physical moves that Frostfang Barioth has. It has a basic tail swipe, a shoulder barge, a dashing jumping lunge. He also has a pouncing bite, as well as a roar attack. It can clamber onto the walls, and from certain moves such as the tail swipe or when it's on the walls, it can become airborne, after which it can dive bomb a hunter's position or perform icy breath attacks. It also has its power slam move, as it's put by the community, where it will leap into the air and then land down on your position, fangs first. Getting caught by this is quite dangerous, as it's his hardest hitting move, and he'll normally perform this once a person is affected by Frostbind, and should he be enraged, then he will actually perform this move twice in a row. Now, when it comes to the icy breath attacks, there are 4 notable ones. First of all is a standard icy breath attack directly in front of him, which will be cast like a line, so he'll fire at the floor in front of him and then move his head backwards, flicking the ice breath directly in front of him, freezing anyone who gets caught by it. The second breath attack is a bit more of a close ranged one, where he'll perform a 180 degree icy breath arc in front of him along the ground. The third move is something he performs while airborne, where he'll simply cast a projectile of ice at the ground at the player's location, freezing them if they should get caught. And the final ice breath attack is a damage dealing attack. It's not aimed at trying to slow the player down. Basically, Frostfang Barioth will fire off a ball of ice that, when it connects with its location, will create an explosion of ice, sending the hunter flying. Sometimes he'll use this on opponents who have been caught by a previous Frostbind effect. Now, with the vast majority of these moves, especially the ice breath moves, hunters will have to deal with ice blight, so that's something to be aware of. Now, when it comes to taking on Frostfang Barioth, you have to be aware of the monster's weaknesses. Although not as restrictive as, say, the likes of Elatrion, there are still some aspects you have to be aware of. For example, if you're going into this fight wanting to use an elemental weapon, then fire is the best bet. This is followed by thunder, and the other elements aren't really advisable. He's completely immune to ice and water. But as Frostfang Barioth has no ultimate ability you have to be aware of, you're perfectly capable of going into this fight either with a raw based build or an ailment build. These should perform just fine. Now, if you're struggling with Frostfang Barioth, there are a few things you can do to make the hunt easier. For example, as I already mentioned, Fire Element is exceedingly strong against the monster, although Ailments and Raw work perfectly fine as well. As I also mentioned, Ice Blight is an issue, so going in with Blight Resistance, Ice-Proof Mantle or Cleanser Booster is advisable. But if you really want to make the fight easier, I'd recommend going into the hunt with a build that has Part Breaker. Now, whilst this is by no means essential, breaking the body parts of Frostfang Barioth can make the hunt go easier. For example, should you break the wings, then Frostfang Barioth will stumble after a lot of its charging moves, leaving it open for attack. Breaking its wings is pretty much like slowing down the monster a little bit. On top of that, you can also break the head, or in this case it's really the fangs. You can break them twice. This can potentially reduce the damage slightly on its slamming attacks. and of course you can sever the tail, reducing the range of its tail whip. Focus on these aspects and the hunt should go a little bit more smoothly. But why would you want to do this event quest and take on Frostfang Barioth? Well, it's all about getting the materials from the monster as well as the Frostfang tickets for completing the event quest. With these you can craft the Frostfang Alpha and Beta armor sets. These are beautiful looking armor sets that come with 2 set bonuses. For wearing 1 piece you have Punishing Draw set bonus, and for the 3 piece you have the Slugger's Secret. So it's great for builds that like to focus on knocking out monsters or that have decent draw attacks. So I can see this greatly benefiting the Greatsword, Longsword, Hammer and Hunting Horn. On top of that it comes with other skills such as Attack Boost, Slugger, Critical Eye, Quick Sheath and Critical Draw, as well as a ton of jewel sockets for you to play around with. Also with the materials and the tickets you can craft Frostfang weaponry. These are in their own dedicated weapon tree, but normally branch off of the ice elemental tree found in whatever weapon tree you're looking in. These weapons normally have a decent amount of raw attack, not the highest in the game, but not the worst. They normally have a decent chunk of purple sharpness with positive affinity, and come with a fairly high ice rating. There are also a few variations, depending on what weapon you're using. For example, if you're using Darcblade, it has impact files. If you're using Gun Lance, it has level 7 normal shells, so on and so forth. So whilst I wouldn't say they are the best weapons out there, as they do lack things like jewel sockets, they're not the worst. They're also rarity 11, which means that they can be augmented more than rarity 12 weapons. Also, for completing the quest for the first time, you'll get their Frostfang Barioth Claws Pendant that you can attach to your weapon. Finally, when it comes to the rewards and that, you can craft their Frostfang Set Alpha for your Palico. This again amazingly designed armor set provides your Palico with a ton of ice and water resistance, as well as giving them a decent ice severing weapon. So there we have it, that is Frostfang Barioth in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. For me personally, I still love the design of this monster, but it's not the most difficult. Its Frostbind and ice attacks are tricky, but so long as you can avoid them, the monster's not that big an issue. In fact, some people do argue that he may be a little bit easier than the normal Barioth, as it doesn't rush around and charge as much. But obviously this comes with a caveat, as if you cannot avoid the ice attacks, then you're going to be in for a rough time. But that's about it for this new variant. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below, and until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you a hunter's guide to Frostfang Barioth in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.